welcome back. Podcast number 6?
Yeah.
Number 6 of Untamed and Unapologetic. Yeah, here we are. So we want to kind of talk about, we played a little intro clip of a song called Prom Queen by a band actually I discovered. They opened for another musical artist, one of my favorite artists, and went to see him at a show. And, you never know what you're going to get when you go see an opening act. Sometimes you get, sometimes it's a womp womp, but we got really lucky. And this band called Beach Bunny. So if you've never seen them and you get a chance, they're pretty awesome. And it's this song called Prom Queen. And it was just really apropos. And I'm going to read some of the lyrics. They're young, compared to us. A lot of bands are young now, but I want to read some of the lyrics, and it really sort of apropos to what we're going to talk about here, because today we're going to talk about, I don't want a bikini body, just my body, unapologetically. So that's sort of what we're gonna get into today. And I'm going to read some of the lyrics of the song, and they're not in order. I'm just going to kind of skip around. They're not exactly in order, but it's really fitting. And these were written by, she's in her 20s somewhere, I'm guessing. I don't really know how old the lead singer's age. But shut up, count your calories. I never looked good in mom jeans. Wish I was like you. Blue-eyed blondie, perfect body. Maybe I should try harder. You should lower your expectations. And then if I get more pretty, do you think he will like me? And then it goes on. She says, I was never cut out for a prom queen. If I'm pretty, will you think you will like me? They say beauty makes boys happy. I've been starving myself, carving skin until my bones are showing. Teach me how to be okay. I don't want to downplay my emotions. They say beauty is vain. You'll only be happy if you look a certain way. I want to be okay.
That's
kind of powerful lyrics, and kind of an interesting statement for, that just an interesting statement that a younger woman, that it's still out there, this sort of urging, or this sort of push or pressure to look a certain way.
Yeah.
To be accepted or loved or liked, and that it's,
yeah, it's still
there.
Out there. It's
still
really
there.
Strong, and it changes, right? It's changed over the years.
Oh yeah, and the look has changed.
The look has changed.
I think we have to. I do think that we should bring that up, because we grew up. I think that sort of if we talk about women of our era that are, we'll just say Gen X for the most part, and hopefully there's people listening that aren't women that are listening that aren't Gen X, but women that are Gen X. If you talk about when we were in our, college or 20s, right? Sort of the look du jour, was sort of, I like to call it stick with tits.
Yeah, really thin. Yeah,
really thin, and big fake tits. That was sort of like the sort of the in look, like a big. It's kind of like come back, because it was like voluptuous look for a little bit, but it's kind of come back. Well, and stuff. It's coming back, but like the big sort of like people with the big, having like a small waist and big booty is sort of like, that sort of like was definitely like the whole Kim Kardashian thing, because even my 13-year-old, almost 14-year-old daughter will say things like, Mom, my butt is, I don't have much of a butt, because
she's very lean.
Because we're very lean, very athletic looking, broad. Well, she's 13, but she'll never. We're broad shouldered naturally.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I lift weights, but I'm broad shouldered naturally,
with the smaller hips,
and I'm very sort of small hips.
You know what I was watching the other day that it was so funny that you talked about this. And I was like, because it's like, yeah, I have broad shoulders. I have a smaller hips. Like I gain weight in my belly, and
Yeah, we
like
don't
no
have-
butt. I have like no butt. And it's like my sister, my younger sister always makes fun of me. She's like, you have no butt. You have no butt. And I was just like, I don't care.
I don't care.
But I was watching. This is funny because it kind of started to bother me when she's like, you have no butt. I'm like, because you're supposed to have a big butt now. Like,
Yeah, you're supposed to have some big butt.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my
I
God,
have
what
a
am I
big
gonna
butt.
do? Like. It's exhausting thing about, well, I could squat every day. And I'm like, oh my God, forget, you know, I work out just to enjoy myself, not to like, you know, I need a big butt. Right. And
Yeah,
I
really
watched
care. I don't really care.
Wonder Woman, the old Wonder Woman the other day, a clip.
Linda Carter.
Yeah. Linda
right?
Carter. Yes. And she has no butt. She is stick thin. I mean, she's very, very thin and lean. And,
But that was the.
but she had like, I'm like, she doesn't have a butt either.
That was the look. That
I have
was
a
like-
Wonder Woman butt.
Yeah,
And
that was a Wonder Woman. But
like,
that was sort
that
of the
was
look. That was sort of the look. So you
Yeah,
sort of
she's
like
super
And if you go back to
beautiful.
like the 50s, was sort of the new look. It was like the small waist, sort of in the dress, and like the housewife. You know, so the look does change. Sort of
The
like
look changed,
the
yeah.
sort of what's popular.
It just wasn't talked about. It was just like
Yeah,
you're just
sort of
thin.
look.
And then when you're thin, you're like, yeah.
But it's sort of the pressure, you know, sort of diet culture and media has sort of hijacks our joy around just our bodies,
Yeah.
and pressures women in general into
I think, yeah, it's like our physical, and even the way we look. I think people were commenting on how the women in the 80s, if you look back at the videos, like the music videos, and the women now, they look a lot, people like are trying to look the same with like the injections and Botox and bigger lips. And then if you look back, I was like, yeah, the women in the 80s, I feel the same way. They're like gorgeous because if you look back, they just all look different, but unique. And it's like very cookie cutter. Like, you know, all their Kardashians, they look kind of the same because they're all carved out, you know, and a lot of the
Yeah.
look is different.
Yeah,
People
the
have
look
like
is
nose
different.
job. Everyone's going to, you know, has the nose job and the lips so it's a very similar look and a lot of makeup or the eyelashes. And you look back and it's like, it just feels like more a genuine beauty. When you look back at some of the 80s.
More natural.
More natural.
In general, yeah.
Yeah, more natural. If you look back some of the music videos, even the actresses, I was like, yeah, there was definitely a different kind of, look that there is now. And people were commenting, you know, reading the comments like, oh, people look more natural beauties.
yeah. But still pressure to look.
There's still the pressure.
Still the
yeah,
pressure
yeah.
to look
There's
at
still
a
the pressure,
certain,
yeah.
a certain way, and how, you know, that
Hasn't changed.
that back then it was diet culture. I think you could call
Yeah.
it that. Now it's more of the social media culture as opposed, and
There
you know,
was
as opposed-
and they were
there was no
all
social.
thinner.
We didn't have social media.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't have a
TV,
social media.
culture,
Thank
right.
God at the time, right? But
Yeah.
but it was the diet culture. It was the
Ooh, I have a story. Go ahead.
oh no, God, I want to hear
about
that.
our
I wanna-
mom's story.
whoa.
So our mother. It's an interesting story about things that actually have changed for the better. Is
Right,
that
yeah.
I would believe that she wanted to be a airline
Steward at the time it was called a
Yeah,
stewardess.
that's what it
You
was
were an
called.
airline stewardess.
Yeah.
Not a flight attendant.
Not a flight
Yeah,
attendant.
it's an airline stewardess.
And she was never a big woman. Like
No.
yeah, and
no, mom's not heavy.
she was not heavy.
No.
But she was not really stick thin. She was never stick thin. She had like we call it the Swedish belly. And she,
athletic though.
athletic,
Always
very
athletic.
athletic, very athletic, very never heavy. They weighed her and she was like 4 pounds overweight and
Yeah.
said, come back to be a airline stewardess. And so she didn't get the job. She like never less, like she kind of moved on. I guess she didn't care that
She
much
didn't really
about
care.
it.
Yeah.
But I was like, wow, can you imagine? They could never do that nowadays. It's like, oh my gosh.
Just
yeah.
4 pounds.
So like it was something like 4
overweight.
pounds. I think it was like 4 pounds overweight. Like
You could
come
just
back.
go to the sauna now.
But you had to
know,
look
like,
a certain
really.
way. Yeah. Yeah. You'd go to the sun. Yeah. You had to look a certain
Ridiculous.
way. So she did not get the job that she always wanted because she was 4 pounds over. I think like I said, I think it was like 4 pounds overweight. So it's super interesting that things have changed for the better.
Yeah.
But then on the other side of that, I feel there is almost like we always want to feel good in our body, but that does not also mean that we still want to care for our bodies. Cause I feel like there is like an invitation there just to be like, I can eat whatever I want. I could never work out. And that's not the message we want either.
No, we don't want, we
yeah.
want and I think that's hard now having a daughter. You know, she does love, you know, she's 13, she's gonna be 14. I have healthy food in my house. sometimes she complains that I have no food. Well, because I have things that you actually have to, the ingredients house. You actually have to make the food,
Yeah.
right? It's not just like I can open a bag, you know,
Right,
you actually
yeah.
have to make the food. I'm like, I do have food. You actually have to cook the
Yeah. You have
things.
to make it.
So I have an ingredients house, apparently, is what it's called. What she like, it's an ingredients house. So, but she does love things like I have Takis, which are like a disgusting version of I don't know. They're gross. But and she'll go and buy them for herself, and I'll like catch her and she'll eat, and I'm like, you can't just eat Takis, and she'll say,
Yeah.
you know, what do you care? What am I, fat? I'm like, it's not about fat.
No, right.
It's
yeah.
about that those things are
Inflammation
like,
in the body.
terrible
Yeah.
for you. Like, I'm not saying you can never eat them, but they're awful.
Right.
Like
It's
you
for your
can't just
health.
eat Nutella and Takis.
Yeah.
Like, stop.
Right. And it's like, I always tell myself I can have whatever I want, but I just don't have it on a regular basis. Like when I used to go into work and there was like donuts or sweets, like I just didn't eat. I just had a rule. I just don't eat junk food at work, period. Because people would be like, oh, it's so hard because at work people bring stuff in. I go, I just never ate it. And I just got used to like,
Not
I
eating
didn't,
it.
and I didn't have to, it wasn't I was restricting myself from eating it. That was just for certain occasions. Like I could have the cookie or on the weekend, or when I went out, I
Right.
had certain foods, like I'd have dessert at dinner, but
Yeah,
on a
otherwise, forget
day-to-day bit, I'm like, no, because I didn't feel good when I had it. Or, you know, it's like the sugar crashes. I was like, no, I just didn't eat it.
Just don't do it.
It was just a rule. So it's like there's two sides of that. It doesn't give you the excuse to be like, oh, just eat junk food and it doesn't
Just
matter.
eat all the
But-
junk food.
But yeah, it's also to when you're, but even when I was having like quote unquote those rules for myself,
Yeah.
it was still like I was hard on myself. And that's kind of what I feel like we're saying.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you have standards, but you have to relax a little bit too.
Right.
in a while.
And I do feel like that it's hard to find that balance because of the pressure of I need to look a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that
Yeah.
there is sort of this pressure of and I need to look like in the song, like she says, like, if I'm pretty, I hear that, you know, boys will like me better
Yeah.
if I'm pretty, and that it gets tied so much to your self-worth that like
Mm-hmm.
I won't be loved anymore if I'm not attractive,
Yeah.
you know? And of course, I mean, I think many of us, I know I do. I want a partner that takes care of himself
Mhm.
or herself, depending on your,
Yeah.
what
'cause
you
that makes it
like.
easier
But
for everyone.
but at the same time, you know, I mean,
Yeah, and lifestyle's important, especially because I've know women who like they got married and they like would party with their husbands at the time, especially if you meet somebody like early on or in college, and then they're like, I don't want to drink anymore, and then it created a huge divide in the relationship because they're like, oh, we went out and drank together, or we went out to restaurants and ate together, and now you're trying to change your habits, and it creates this divide in the marriage. It's like you're trying to better yourself, and he's like, oh, now this is a separation. So that also is very tough. You're like, well, now you're holding me back from feeling good in my body or feeling good about myself because I want to
right, because I want to improve,
improve
right.
or yeah, I want to work out in the morning and I don't want to be hungover or that type of thing.
Yeah, that can be tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to change. But so we wanted to talk a little bit about how to reclaim, like ways to reclaim feeling good in your body. So I don't want a bikini body, just my body unapologetically. So reclaiming that. And one of the ways is through our breath. So releasing shame and trauma, and even trauma can create cravings, because I always say when we feel like incomplete or unworthy, it's like we resort to either, not always, but it's like, what are your bad habits? Scrolling, shopping, alcohol, and then sugar, cravings, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, are you eating from a place of joy? Are you out with friends where you're like, you're going to get that dessert and eat it? And the energy you eat food is so important. Like you're joyful and you're eating, or you're having a drink with friends, or is it late night you're having like chocolate because you're like trying to fill yourself with this because you feel this void.
Right. Yeah.
Void. So there is, so when I do breath work, I do a type of breath work called 9D, and it's just a deep, like a holotropic breathing, like in through the mouth, out through the mouth, in through the belly, out through the belly. And it actually releases a lot of trauma. It shuts off. There's something called hyperfrontality. It shuts off the conscious mind, so you get into the subconscious. So things will come up, and sometimes from years and years back, that you need to release that are in your body. And I always say before every session, I go, if you're feeling this, because people get nervous, like, I don't want to feel that like deep. I've been suppressing it for years. Like, let it stay there.
Scary.
But it can manifest as like a disease or frustration or looping patterns in your life that you need to break. And it brings it up so you can release it. And that's one way that we can release like somatic healing, because just talking it out is going to helpful, but we want to release it from the body. And that's what one of the somatic practices. And even you can even do this like 5 to 10 minutes in the morning, just sitting and breathing and just seeing what comes, or asking yourself questions. I always tell people, when you can't decide something, just sit with yourself and ask questions. And that's even where meditation comes in.
So what kind of questions? Like if you couldn't, like if you were going to, let's say you were going to decide, like you're trying to leave your corporate job, like you have a corporate job and you decide like, okay, I'm burnt out and I have this opportunity to, I'm trying to decide if I'm going to leave my corporate job, and I know that I want to write. I've been writing on the side. I want to write novels. I don't know. I'm just making, I know I can do it. I've been writing, but I want to devote myself to it full time. And it's a little scary. I know I've got a savings I can live off of. And I know like you would just sit and take breaths and ask yourself those questions. Like, is that what you're, is that the kind of thing
more,
you would?
It's just like, what do I truly desire? What does that look like? What is the fear that comes up? What's the fear of, really the fear of, like, if I take this chance and like leave the corporate job, what's the fear? It usually comes up. It's like, well, I won't be able to support myself. And like, what's underneath? So what's underneath that? It's like you keep digging into the sense of safety. Where does this come that I don't feel safe? So it's almost like, and just keep digging into them. Well, why don't I feel safe? What does that stem from? And even like, I always say when people have cravings, because I work with some clients that they'll have like deep cravings or like the habits that come up is like, what is that void? What is that feeling? Just keep asking yourself, what are you trying to suppress or cover up? Like, what is there that what do I really need? Because usually it's like, do I really need the chocolate chip? Well, yeah, like that's like, what do I really need instead? Like, okay, it feels good for a minute, but then I feel bad about myself again. It's like, well, I need to feel good in my body. I want to feel loved, or I want to feel worthy. It like literally always comes back to almost always.
Really,
like,
I know.
I just want to feel like worthy in my body. Like I want to feel like worthy and loved and belonging. It almost always like comes back to that, but you got to find it for yourself, right?
Right. It is interesting. Like for me, like, so when like feeling good and like reclaiming my body, I never think about it when I am moving, right? Like when I am in action. And obviously that's because I'm doing something, but when my body is working for me, when I'm like in the gym, when I'm running, I never, and I don't look my best then, because it's like I'm sweaty and I'm gross a lot, like especially if I'm doing something really hard, it's like I'm not physically, I don't necessarily look quote unquote pretty.
Yeah.
But I don't ever even question what I look like in that moment.
Yes.
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 Like I don't even think about it. And yet then, I go and throw on a swimsuit and I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny. I went and tried on a sports bra and shorts. Like people wear like the booty shorts now. So like work out. And I just tried them on and I still looked in the mirror and went like, nah. And now I'm like older. I'm not going to wear those in the gym anyway. I just feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I really, at my age, still don't really have any cellulite. I mean, just part of that is I take care of myself. Part of it is we have
weight train. Yeah.
Weight train. Part of it is we are blessed with some pretty good genetics in that regard. But I'm like, nah. But I'm also like, technically I could get away with it, I think. But because, I don't, but again, not comfortable
And
because
that's, like,
I can't
one thing,
reclaim the, I still have that hump, right? Like
Right,
I'm
yeah.
not fully, And there
Yeah.
are women at my age that do wear short
yeah.
shorts in the gym. And I sometimes look at them and go, damn it, why can't I do that?
Right.
I can't, I'm still not there, right? And maybe I won't ever be, and that's okay too. But yeah, being able to accept fully where you're at, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is hard.
It is hard, but working on that and devoting, like you said, also having the boundaries, devoting your, staying devoted to yourself.
Oh yeah.
through
That's
all
the
of
last
that,
thing we wanted to touch on. Like, what
Yeah.
does self-devotion look like? And it's,
Rather than self-care, I think we got to sort of like get away
yeah.
from that word sometimes. It like, I don't
so
know.
cliche nowadays.
I know.
Self-care,
Some self-care. It makes it sound like all we're going to go do is get a manicure.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And that's
not there's anything wrong with getting a manicure.
Right. It's
I
not
like to
going
get a
to the spa. It's literally, yeah.
I mean, which is,
Which again,
which is
is
also
good,
lovely.
yeah.
I'm not going to deny, but no.
It's like your day-to-day habits.
Right.
Who's that? There's a, he's on YouTube, and then he always talks about your habits are like your language. It's like how you treat yourself. It's like, and that's like day-to-day self-devotion. To me, it's like getting up, it's like literally being disciplined.
Right. Yeah. And it's like talking
It's
nice
hard.
to yourself.
Yeah, talking nice to yourself. That is self-devotion. Like I want to get up early because I like that time to either work out or journal or walk, whatever that is. That's like self-devotion
Right.
to me. And when I don't do that, it's like now I'm letting myself down, because it's like if I had to meet somebody for coffee at like 6 a.m., I would be there. But so why don't you do that for yourself? Like,
Right.
I'm just going to hit snooze. So
Right.
that to me is self-devotion.
Yeah.
It's like literally you're creating those habits.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we could leave with like one idea. Somebody said, like, what are if we just did all the things, like we would get the results we wanted, or we become like the person we wanted. Somebody said, get a whiteboard and put down like the habits you want and do it for like 20 days. Like, want to get up early and drink a glass of water and then walk for 20 minutes. It's like, okay, once you do those, hey, for 20 days, I did it every morning, right? Or I meditated 5 minutes.
Right.
Then you can add something else to it. It's like stacking your habits, but keeping it simple. And literally, I loved the idea of like a whiteboard. I was like, or I want to connect with one new person a week, whatever it is.
Why couldn't you do that for your body?
I love that idea. Like a checklist for your body. Like every morning I'm going to get up and look in the mirror and be like,
Say something nice about my body.
You're nice to your body. That's an awesome idea. A checklist.
Say something nice about your body.
Yeah. And start with that. That's
what
awesome
don't you
idea.
like?
Put on the whiteboard.
20
days I'm going to get in the morning, in the morning and just look at something I like about my body.
Right.
And then do it for 20, whatever they say, habits, 21 days.
Yeah.
And then put the second thing on there.
And wear the bikini.
Or the bikini.
Anyway.
Yes.
Right. Wear the bikini anyway. So with that, I think we're gonna close
it
today. So if you know someone who might be interested, or this could, they'd want to listen.
Like, share,
right?
subscribe
to us. But until then, stay bold,
Untamed, Unapologetic.
and unapologetic. We'll see you soon.
Bye.